Saying is we're all in this together, and that's basically what is happening. Not one person is not dealing with COVID. Like everybody is dealing with COVID, and so if I can spark a conversation with you while I'm trying to get in Trader Joe's line, why not? As long as you got a mask. Why not? Like, if that, because you might live alone, and this might be the only interaction that you get with a human being for maybe the next 7 days, because I only go to Trader Joe's once a week.
And that's a really good point. I didn't even talk about that, but yeah, that is a lot of time. I think that's why people are being nicer and more friendly, because this is the time to socialize. Like when you go to the store and you're sitting in Trader Joe's, that's the time to socialize. I think one thing too that I had to check myself on during this time too is because you see these people protesting about social distancing and all this type of thing at the Capitol, raising mess about social distancing. And at first I was like, if y'all don't take yourselves home, and my biggest thing was, okay, you don't want to social distance, and when you get sick, don't bring yourself to the social distancing hospitals when you need, I'm just saying. But
period.
But I had to check myself, because I'm like, I probably, this is why people are like, no, I don't want to stay at home, is because they are dealing with things at home that they cannot stomach, or they cannot, like, I didn't really take into account that some people are living with abusers. I didn't take into account that some people are, like, some children are living with sexual molesters, and like, in the time that they went to school was their time to escape that. That was their time to be like, okay, I can act somewhat normal and not have to go home to dysfunction. And so that's one thing I've had to take into account too. It's not everyone has the privilege of having a peaceful home. Even though we feel like that's one of the things that, like, especially for me, that was one of the things, like, if I can't come home and just let my feet up, I don't know how I would live. So just to imagine people who are being forced to sit in those spaces is really, really, it makes you recheck yourself, and it makes you have a level of, like, compassion for those people rallying at the Capitol buildings trying to, get this lifted. And two, it makes you think about, which is one of the things I want to talk about with you guys, is the I've been hearing a lot about this suicide rate going up. And it's really been, like, challenging for me, because I'm like, even though I've never, by the grace of God, I've never suffered with suicidal thoughts, I've had friends and people around me who have. And so to think about people, again, who they might not be being abused at home, but at home in their isolated moments are the times that their mind goes crazy, and the switch just flips from, I don't want to be here anymore, or, like, those type of mindsets. So I want to ask you guys a question, like, what would you say to people who are dealing with those type of mindsets? Because a lot of people suffer in silence. I'm one of those people suffering in silence. I don't want to be a burden. I feel like, especially with all these things going on, people are being sick, people are dying, like, everybody has their issues. So it's like, you don't want to be the one to add on to that tax. So what would you say to somebody in this isolation moment dealing with a suicidal thought? What would you say to them, or to encourage them, or whatever it may be? What would you say to those
people? That's a heavy question. Kind of a loaded question. Well, one, I think before you say anything, you should consider yourself in that predicament, and consider yourself to feel, how would you want to be treated if you was at the end of your rope, and you just feel like you just couldn't go on. So because I'm going to ask, if this person, if it's somebody who I go to church with, or I know that they know the Lord, my first inclination is going to be like, well, what's your prayer life like? If it's somebody who don't, I'm going to just offer prayer. And then from there, we'll take it into, maybe introducing Christ to you and what that looks like in a digestible form, right? It's like, can I pray with you? And from there, insert Christ somewhere, into the conversation. And then 2 is something that I feel like the Black community, which has changed, so I'm not going to just say the Black community. I'm just going to say the people of color in general have not really taken a hold to is therapy. There are still therapists out there who are doing calls just like this. And it is important that we utilize the benefits that maybe your company is giving you. These apps, they have different phone apps where you can access that information in terms of getting a therapist. But I think it's really important that people get a therapist. It's been on my to-do list for the longest.
Mine too.
It can be somebody from the church that you attend to. I have a really good friend. She recommended the people she usually go to you just asking around. But I think it's important because mental health is so imperative during this time. That's the only way I was able to get through being in this shelter in place. Because like I said, I like to be out. I like to hang out. I like to, I probably would have been irritated because I've been I won't say stuck at home, but I've had the privilege to be in this peaceful home since March the 5th. Like my job was one of the first companies to tell us to stay home. And so since my job told me to stay home, I really don't have anywhere else to go during the week because I'm at work. So I've been in the house for 2 months, really. But my mindset is always spiritual. And so I realized I was able to tap in early of trying to figure out what God has for me during this time. Now, somebody who's dealing with suicidal thoughts, my first inclination is to ask you, what's your prayer life like? Or can I pray with you? And then from there, I'm going to definitely send you scriptures on a daily basis. I'm going to check in on a daily basis. And I'm going to make sure that you're getting a therapist because I think it's important that you can talk to somebody who has an unbiased opinion on your everyday life. So there are some conversations that I'm going to have with Courtney where I'm just going to soothe her because that's what she's calling me for. She want to vent. So I'm just going like, yeah, your feelings they accurate. Like your feelings are right. Like I would feel that way too. And then there's some conversations that I'll have with somebody who I don't really know. And I just be like, no, you were wrong. Yeah. Like that person can be honest and open. And I can be honest and open. But there's going to be a part of me that wants to coddle Courtney, even though she's wrong. Mm-hmm. Even though her feelings are valid, because everybody's feelings is valid. I'm not going to tell you that your feelings are not valid. But if with seeking somebody with an unbiased opinion, you're able to be your true self and not hold up any boundaries, any walls that you have. You're able to be yourself 100, where people would look down on you for feeling this way, where it can be shameful to have suicidal thoughts. And there's no shame in that at all. At all. I mean, I've had thoughts like that before. Now, I didn't go through with it, of course, but I thought that life would be better if I just wasn't here. Not necessarily that I wanted to kill myself. It was more of if I wasn't here, life would be better for people around me. But that was a trick of the enemy. So my first inclination is going to be to offer prayer and to see what that person's prayer life is. I'm going to check in with them on a daily basis, and I'm going to make sure that they seek help and get a therapist, because that's really the root cause. You don't have somebody to chat with on a daily basis. You don't have somebody that you can be 100% honest with the things that you are struggling with. So yeah, that's going to be my response to that.
That response.
I like what you said, Felicia, when you said putting yourself in someone's shoes. Because I a lot of times with suicide, it's kind of like a touchy subject, kind of, because we try to, I don't know, I feel like our community, the color community, we kind of look at suicide differently. And I feel like when someone does have suicidal thoughts or has tried to act on the suicide, we the way we talk to them is not the right way to talk. And the color community, it's like we try to hide it, and we don't speak about it, and then we cover it up. Whereas our other friends, other people, they go into therapy, they voicing out how they feel, they voicing out they have thoughts, they voicing out that they have acted on it the night before, they've been put in a hospital, and so forth. And I feel like us, I don't know if we are ashamed of it or what, but when I, like, if I was to have a friend or a coworker, which I've had both come to me, both on the not spiritual side as well as the spiritual side, I take two different approaches. Of course, I do want to offer Christ if it's in the right environment and atmosphere to do it. But of course, I will offer Christ. Of course, I've had to pray for my a coworker before, in at work. And I do both. I try to put myself, like, if it was me, how would I want somebody to respond to me? Mm-hmm. How would I want somebody to respond to what I'm going through, how I'm feeling? And that's what I do. And I first start off with, like, self-affirmations, because there's a reason why you're feeling like this. And I always hear, a lot of times I can be in a room with 1,000 people and still feel alone, and not everyone understands that, and not everyone gets that. And so we go to the suicide, and we try to act on these, and we have these thoughts to think that it's just going to erase everything, but which it doesn't. It doesn't erase your issue. It doesn't erase what's going on with you. It just puts it onto the next person. So I always talk to whoever I'm talking to that's going through having thoughts. I always offer, if they don't know Jesus, I always try to put that in. I offer prayer. I try to find, like, encouraging scriptures that they can read throughout their day, throughout the week. I love to do self-affirmations. I always used to laugh about, like, Mary Jane. She used to put that stuff on everything. She used to put post-its on everything. And I've had to tell my clients that who've been going through, like, depression and suicidal thoughts, and I would just put post-its on wherever you step and your eyes meet, on the refrigerator, inside the refrigerator, in your bathroom, on your steering wheel. Put these self-affirmations down, because eventually, as you keep seeing it and keep saying it, you are building yourself up. It might not be an overnight thing, but gradually it's building you up. And it works. I've never had thoughts, but I've been at my lowest, and I've been really low where I didn't think I was going to be able to get back up. And those self-affirmations, whether it's what I find on Pinterest, whether it's a couple scriptures that I memorized out of the Bible, but I had to just write it down, whether it's in my notes on my phone, or I'll just put stuff, like, just put a post-it here and a post-it there, just so that I can look at it and be like, I'm great. Yeah. I'm beautiful. I'm wonderful. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love me, no matter how the shape, no matter the color, no matter how I look, I love me. And that's what we got to say to the people that's struggling, the people that's having these suicidal thoughts and things like that. Like, you gotta love you.
Yeah.
You have to love, and that's where you gotta start off at. And
we gotta live for another.
We gotta love ourselves enough. And think we are not a mistake. That's the first thing. Yeah. We are not a mistake, and everyone is dealt different cards, and everyone's story is different. And your story might not be walking in a garden and with rose petals on the bottom of your feet. That might not be your story. That might not be your journey. But you got to realize that what you're going through, you're going to get through it.
Yeah.
and it's going to take time. In therapy, yes, I am an advocate. I used to always be scared to even talk about like, oh, I need a therapist. Oh, I want to go to therapy. I used to be scared about it until I came to, I was at work and my coworker was talking to me about it, and I kind of like shied away, like, oh, like my family, we don't really talk about, we need therapy. Our therapist is Jesus, like stuff like that. And and she was talking to me, and her family is also pastors and stuff like that. So she was like, no, like that don't mean having therapy doesn't mean that you don't believe in God. It doesn't mean that you don't trust God. It's just you trust God, you got prayer, and you got somebody else.
Right.
You got an extra person. You got an extra person that can help you out, and that knows, that knows whatever you're going through. Like they can go through the book with you.
Right.
And I had to realize, like, oh, okay, I'm not crazy. What I'm saying? Like, therapy is not for people that's just crazy. Therapy is for anybody. You can go to therapy for your finances. You can go to therapy because you overworked at work. It's like, it's a lot of, and I had to realize, oh, I'm not crazy for wanting to do therapy. So if it's anybody that comes up to me that's going through suicide or having suicidal thoughts, we doing prayer. We getting some scripture that you can do throughout your week. We getting some affirmations, and we're gonna try to find you a therapist.
Yes.
And I love the fact that y'all brought up therapy, because there is a really, really big stigma behind therapy, and I don't understand why. Because God gave these people gifts.
These people
use them, okay? They wouldn't be here. So
they went to school for this.
They went to school for it. God gave to do it. The means and the research to do it. I don't understand why we take it.
Look, listen, baby, listen.
But I'm a huge proponent of therapy, and I think that is like a great thing that we should utilize, especially in this time. I think a lot of people think that there aren't resources out there, but there's so many online resources where they will talk to you one-on-one. They will be unbiased, like Felicia said earlier, be unbiased and just walk you through it, whatever you want to talk about, however you want to talk about it, they'll walk you through it. And I think one big piece, and we'll wrap it up, that I got from you guys is to really put yourself in people's shoes and be compassionate and where they're coming from, because people receive you better if they understand that you, even though you may not sympathize or not, I don't want to say like that, but even though you may not have experienced it, you sympathize with them and you empathize with them. And I think that makes a big difference in how you approach people. So prayer is absolutely necessary. Giving them affirmations. Affirmations is a major thing. I used to laugh at Mary Jane too. I'd be like, baby, what is all this sticky notes?
Girl, them Post-its.
Put it up. But watching the show, you're like, oh, like you have to talk yourself up. And we hear it all the time. What's in you is going to come out.
Yeah.
So if you constantly are allowing those negative thoughts to consume you, and you're allowing those negative thoughts or negative perceptions of what people have consumed you, if you're letting all the negativity consume you, that's what's going to come out. So we have to learn to consume ourselves in the Word of God, consume ourselves in affirmations, positive thoughts. What's your favorite scripture, Felicia? Whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are good report. Think on those.
Think upon those things.
So we have to get in the mindset, and it's easier said than done. Everything is easier said than done.
It really is.
We have to make up in our minds, I'm not going to come out of it. By the end of this pandemic, they're not going to write me off as another statistic to suicide. They're not going to write me off as having to go into a crazy house because this pandemic made me go crazy. I'm not going to be a statistic. I'm going to be exactly what God has made me to be, and that's more than a conqueror. And so we have to
what I
myself with the word of God. So that
what I will say is
that'll come out.
What I will say is where you invest in is where you gonna reap from.
Right.
And you have to be okay with the process. So if you are investing in Netflix, and I'm not meaning Netflix stock and Hulu stock, but if you are investing in the TV and social media, you're gonna constantly measure yourself up into that. Yeah. And so you're gonna always fall short all the time. You're never going to be like the girls on the TV, right? So if body image is your issue, if the way you think is your issue, if you invest in that all day long, that's what you're going to reap from. Now, if you invest in your spiritual side, then that's where you are reap from. So like this, I don't want people to think that, because I feel like I painted this rosy picture of me in quarantine. This has not been easy.
Oh, not at all.
By any means.
Not at all.
I just know that it was bigger than me. The situation was bigger than me. Like I struggled with some health things at the beginning of this, and I thought I had COVID. So I went to the hospital. Turns out it was just my asthma reacting to the allergies. But like I couldn't breathe. And that had freaked me out because my mom is going to be 55. My sister's a little bit of a worry wart. And so I didn't want them to be infected because of me. Yeah. But I put my faith and my belief in what I was investing into. And at that time, I was consecrating myself and I was fasting. And so because all of that was happening, I put my belief in what I was fasting on. And that was the word of the Lord. I put my confidence in all of that into God. And he, of course, like I didn't have COVID, and I was able to get the tools and the resources, right? Because I went to the doctor. That means I went and seeked out and got help. I knew something was wrong. I realized that I couldn't fix it myself. I went and sought out to get help. I got the help that I needed, and now I'm okay. And so that's what needs to happen. When you realize, because suicide don't happen overnight. You don't wake up one morning and just be like, oh, today's the day. No, just like addiction.
It's a plan.
Exactly. Just like addiction doesn't happen overnight. You know you've been playing with that situation for a long time. So, of course, now it's going to be repeated behavior. So if you are invested into your mental health, knowing what you already struggle with, if you are investing, your church that you're investing into, and by investing, I mean your tithes and offering, cash in on that. Like, I'm not saying that as in, like, you paid the church off. I'm saying, like, if you know that you are struggling with something and your church is a ministry that really wants to help and reach out and have different resources, hit up some of the leaders from the church. Now is not a time to be proud. Now is not a time to be prideful. Now is a time to seek the help. And you can't, pride comes before a haughty fall. And your haughty fall is suicide. And guess what? You are needed here. Yeah. And so you cannot throw in the towel and quit. Go get some help. Go seek out some resources. And another thing is, if the Lord drop a name in your spirit, maybe it be speaking to unbeliever. If you just walking down the street or walking to do your quarantine errands within your home and you feel like somebody is on you and you need to reach out to them, whether they're your strong friend or your weak friend. Don't take a simple phone call for granted, because you don't know what you didn't say that person from. Mm-hmm. If you know somebody is living alone, reach out to them. Now, they said social distance right now. So that means that y'all can probably do a social distance picnic, or you can probably just drop off some food to somebody's house. If you know that there's a need there, it don't even have to be spiritual related. If you know that there's a need, help fill it if you can. So like, reach out to that person, send them a text message, schedule a Zoom call or a Google Hangout, reach out to people. Because that's another thing that is helpful. Yes, somebody may be battling with something and may not seek to get the help, but you feel an unction, some reason to reach out to them. Do it, because you don't know what you're saving them from. Or it's just a pleasant, oh, girl, I've been missing you. I'm happy you called. It's just a pleasant get together.
Oh, just reach out to anyone. Just reach out to, I found myself reaching out. Yeah, reaching out to people that I ain't talked to in a minute. And,
and
that,
offline.
Okay,
and that's why, I feel like when you just so busy with your everyday activities and your everyday life, some people just slip through.
Yeah.
Just slip through the crack. And then when I was here, I was just like, oh, I ain't talked to so-and-so in a minute. Let me just reach out. And when I reached out, they're like, oh, girl, this is like taking me through the ringer. Like I'm starting to, you know what I'm saying? I'm starting to go crazy in my mind. And I had to, like, I was able to just like talk to them.
Yeah.
Now, what if I'd never reached out? I don't know what would happen today.
Yeah.
Or that day period. So I feel like reach out to the ones, to your loved ones, reach out to your friends that you ain't talked to in a while, reach out to coworkers. I know that my boss, she had to take her own self-care day because it was just a lot this week.
Yeah.
So she had to take off, you know, she had to do her own self-care day. And it's very important to take time for yourself.
Come on
like,
now, Betsy. Now you're preaching.
Take time for yourself. These jobs will run you ragged. Run you.
Not my job. I love my job, Robin.
No, but
they will run you. You got to make sure that you take time. You take some self-care every day. You should take self-care for yourself, whether it's a walk around the block. If you're scared to go outside and take a bath, if you don't got no bath, take a warm shower. Like, do something to take care of yourself.
And Bessie, you preaching because people got PTO days that they just refuse to use.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. I took off Good Friday because, you know, my Savior was on the cross. I took off Good Friday, and even though I didn't observe it the way I wanted to, it was very refreshing. And I was like, you know what? I should have took Monday after Resurrection Sunday off because that time is so needed. So if you have PTO day, don't save them for your vacation. Take them today.
Take them, yes.
I think that's like the perfect thing to end with is making sure.
She tried to kick us off, Betsy.
Take the time.
That's a wrap.
For self-care. Take the time for self-care because it's absolutely essential. And I think a lot of times we let ourselves fall through the cracks. And then we get to a point we've let it all bubble up. And then we get to, it's like, oh, where did that come from? You not taking the time to take your self-care. I took my self-care yesterday. It was a beautiful feeling. A bath, a face mask, Jourdy, Ariana Creations.
I was about to say, speaking of self-care, Bessie, don't you have a business? Don't you have a product?
Yes. Come visit my website.
Go ahead.
www.arianascreations.com.
You got
Got an Instagram?
Yes. My Instagram is _Ariana's Creations.
Look at the Lord. So I think that's the perfect way to end off. If y'all want some self-care help, hit up Ariana's Creations.
Hit me up.
And make sure that not only are you physically self-caring, but you are spiritually self-caring, mentally self-caring, and making sure that you are a well-rounded individual. Okay? A well-rounded individual.
Right.
Well-rounded individual.
Thank you, Coco Bean, for having us.
Oh,
thank you.
My little Coco Bean.
I want to meet me back here, guys. I'll be featured again next Friday.
Okay.
I will see you guys then.
Not next Friday.
See you guys then.
You can interview Ulta.
Don't even stop. And that is all for Wellness Check. So Underground Consciousness. I'm so glad you guys tuned in. Thank you for watching. Thank you for indulging. Make sure that you like and comment below on other things that you would like us to talk about in our Wellness Check. And we look forward to seeing you guys. Felicia, do you have an Instagram that you want people to follow and engage you on, or no?
Go ahead, at Queen.
Go ahead.
What is her thing?
At Queen Felicia.
At Queen Rochelle.
We'll tag it.
Queen Felicia Rochelle. No.
There you go. Queen Felicia Rochelle on Instagram. Make sure y'all follow her and make sure y'all follow Ariana's Creations. And until next time, love y'all. We'll see y'all later.
I'll see y'all next Friday, same time.